Okay, I think we can start. So we are almost to 5 minutes past 2. So I would like then to give the floor to Professor Alfredo Carrato for some greetings words.
Thank you very much, Luisa, and good morning or good afternoon to everybody. I have to say you that unfortunately Mrs. Kopcińska cannot participate in today's debate due to her health condition. She feels very weak and sick, and we are extremely sorry about that. And on behalf of Mrs. Kopcińska, I will read her welcome speech for today's conference. It says, I would like to welcome you all at the event on occasion of the World Pancreatic Cancer Day. This year takes place tomorrow on November the 19th. The European Parliament has a strong evidence base and solid foundation for its scrutiny and its suggestion for the Europe's Beating Cancer Plan, the European Union Cancer Mission being closely associated with initiatives such as the new European Union Pharmaceutical Strategy and European Union Health Program. Moreover, the Europe's Beating Cancer Action Plan is expected to be published by the Commission on Wednesday, 9th of December, so 2 weeks from now. Member States and the European Union institutions should act together to overcome the barriers to innovation, including recognizing the real value of new treatments and making access to them easier. Boosting research across Europe and including all stakeholders, particularly patients. According to the study prepared by EMVI committee, strengthening Europe in the fight against cancer, in the European Union, the organs most commonly affected by cancer are breast, colorectal, prostate, and lung, with more than 300,000 new cancer cases each in 2018. Of these cancers, lung cancers are the deadliest, accounting for more than 150,000 yearly deaths in the European Union, followed by breast and pancreas cancer, which are associated to more than 80,000 deaths in 2018. According to statistics from 2019, pancreatic cancer is the fourth leading cause of death from cancer in Europe, claiming more than 90,000 lives each year. The impact of this disease on quantity of life and costs is huge, as it causes a substantial burden in Europe, with nearly 1 million aggregate life years lost annually. At the same time, about 30,000 new cases of pancreatic cancer are diagnosed in the United States, and this is leading to the analytic facts finding that pancreatic cancer costs amounted to $2.6 billion in total healthcare costs, accounting for 1.8% of the entire cost of caring for all cancer patients. There is not one necessary tool for improving quality of cancer in patients. Cancers are non-communicable disease, which has more dramatic prevalence rather than others. What makes it has to cure in the most holistic approach. Each pancreatic cancer tumor is different, which may affect treatment options. Why? Because some pancreatic cancer tumors have unique characteristics like genetic alterations that make them especially susceptible to certain treatments. These biological features can be identified through a scientific test called molecular profiling. Knowing about the tumor's unique characteristics can help patients and their healthcare teams select the treatment options including clinical trials, best suited to the patient. This specific approach has to be embedded in the highly specialized psychological counseling. Therefore, in this particular understanding of the holistic approach, the testimonies of a patient survivor are important to know how to keep an emotional balance surrounding in the treatment cancer disease. I'm looking forward to hearing also all remarks on concrete obstacles and plan of action of PancreOS that are to be presented and discussed. I wish everyone the deep and fruitful debate. Thank you. So this is Mrs. Kopcińska message for welcome, and I think that Luisa Pagano is going to introduce our first speaker.
Yes, thank you, Alfredo. Following Mrs. Kopcińska's suggestions, we would like to give a voice to a patient, a survival patient, and I am glad to introduce to you Magdalena Kempa. She's from Poland and lives in Warsaw. And since 2 years, she is suffering from pancreatic cancer, the less common type called NET, neuroendocrine tumor. And she is a member of the Europa Colon Foundation, that is an organization, an NGO established in March 2017. And the aim of the foundation is primarily to increase the general public awareness on cancer of the digestive system, with a particular emphasis on colorectal cancer. So thank you, Magdalena, for your participation.
Thank you very much. First of all, I really thank you very much to be a part of this type of the meeting, because maybe I can be a voice of the more amount of the patient that myself, because I think that in my position I'm quite lucky, because I'm doing really well. This is the benefit from very early diagnosed and proper treatment from the early beginning. And also I'm lucky because my drugs are reimbursed. I can be effectively treated in all aspects of my life. And it means that I can be active in my private business life, and also I can follow my hobbies as usually. And just the few sentences about my story. In 2018, I have started to suffer from some intestinal problems, which directly navigate me to gastrointestinologist. And I have started to also the problem with my glucose levels, and also I was suffering from undefined abdominal pain. But as I'm quite, I think, conscious patient, and I decided to follow my own way, despite of the ability which give me my governmental test and examination. That's why I decided to go in my private way to do some additional tests and examination with clearly defined that I have this type of the tumor. And also after the time, I decided to do this test again, and it was very much emphasized by me that under the condition that I would like to get a biopsy to be 100% sure that this is this type of the tumor. And after this period, I I found a very good clinic in Poland, and I'm under the supervision of this place. And I would like to emphasize that the progress in the pancreatic cancer is very dramatic. Even the few months, not few months, this is the matter of the week, that you can be really on the different side of your problem, that you are not in the scope of the patient to be under even the surgery care. It means that if we are not diagnosed on time, we have very limited therapeutic options. That's why I think that it's very crucial to us to be very early diagnosed and on time to get very proper treatment, even if it is very innovative treatment. And I think that my determination and also maybe my knowledge and my skills help me to get as much more as possible. You know, the willing and the strength to try to learn as much as possible and to be sure that I'm following with the best way, which is dedicated to this type of the patient. And I think that if we can get this type of the pancreatic cancer registry, we as patients, we will be able to get up-to-date, very medical evidence-based knowledge, and it will be some kind of exchanging information platform to learn what we can do for us when we are, what kind of assurance we can get, what kind of clinical trials are dedicated to us, and also in which we can participate or not. And also, especially as it was initially emphasized by me, that the symptoms are not typical, that this is a very difficult situation to the all HCPs to diagnose patient very well and to put diagnostic pathway as it should be according to the European standards, the same like the treatment. Yes, we should follow the best treatment standards and to be covered with the best type of the care as it is possible. I know that the pancreatic cancer, this is more rare than others. Maybe this is not so much easy to diagnosed and also easy to find and recognized by other doctors. But I think that still, if we can spread the knowledge about the problem, and if we can do the Go Live pancreatic cancer European Union registry, we can be on the safe side. I mean that for us, the most important things, how many years we can survive. Yes, how many years after the diagnosis we can survive. And I think that at the moment we are not alone, because we have a lot of good, real people who can help us. The same like a foundation of European Colon Poland to help us to be more visible and to have some voice, but also some statistic measures, as you can see on this slide, really show where we are. Yes, that's for example, in some countries the surveillance rate is about 12, and some other is less than 6. It means that we really would like to be on the same side. It doesn't depend from which country we are. We really expect the same type of the care and the benefit of the innovative healthcare system. And I think that this data, which we can find in the Pancreatic Registry within the next time, can really help us to be a better survivor, and also to help us to get a better knowledge. But I think that from the very pragmatic point of view, we will be on the side when we are not only 5 years survivor, but we have something more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Magdalena. Thank you very much for your testimony. And I would like then to invite the next speaker on the program, Dr. Antoni Montserrat. He will give us an overview of the political framework that we are talking about. And Antoni is an active senior on public health for the European Commission, is member of the Luxembourg National Committee for Rare Disease, member of the board of the associations ALAN, Maladies Rare Luxembourg, a member of the Scientific Commission of FEDER Spain, the Spanish Federations for Rare Disease. Thank you, Antoni, for your contribution.
Okay, I suppose I share my how I share my presentation. You do it or I do it? Oh. Okay, thanks a lot, and especially thanks to Pancreatic Cancer Europe for this invitation to the European Commission. I think it's very important, and I will try to be as much as possible positive in the sense of explaining good news, I hope, in order what can be done, what will be done, what should be done from the side of the European Commission in the field of cancer. First of all, let me tell you that the European Commission has a cancer plan, two in this moment in very important initiatives, the European Beating Cancer Plan and the Mission on Cancer. And this is not the usual situation with the most part of communication. And dementias, and is the case for mental health. And after we have European plans in some very precise groups, which are the rare diseases, the infectious diseases, or the occupational diseases. We don't have, for instance, at European level, a European plan for diabetes, or a European plan for cardiovascular, or a European plan for musculoskeletal. But we have, and this is very important, one of the single diseases group for which a European plan exists is the field of cancer. The reasons, it's very clear. Cancer is one of the top 5 major societal challenges in Europe. The number of cancers diagnosed every year is very important. And certainly Europe needs better and equitable prevention and diagnosis, treatment and care, survival rates, and post-cancer quality of life. Next one, please. Well, the fact that the European Commission has now a plan for cancer is something new from 1 year ago. at the moment of the new commission takes place, the new health commissioner, Stelios Kyriakides, received what we call a mission letter from the side of the president of the European Commission, Mrs. von der Leyen, in which it was defined that one of the priorities for this 5-year commission will be the fight against cancer. That's the reason for which very soon, 1 year ago, it started all the process for defining the pillars, the content, and the financing and funding for this Europe Beating Cancer Plan, which will be focused in 4 big areas: the prevention, the early diagnosis, the treatment, and the follow-up care. As it was indicated by Alfredo before, this Europe Beating Cancer Plan will be probably endorsed and finally approved in 2 weeks' time. And I will mention that the important thing, it was that any initiative in fields like this, it will be submitted before approval to what is called a consultation, a public consultation. And the public consultation in the case of the Europe Cancer Plan was a success, with an enormous participation of member states, patient associations, experts all around Europe, and all, as much it was possible, it was being included in this Europe Beating Cancer Plan. At the same time, the European Commission defined what is some essential objectives on what is called now missions. Missions sounds something very, very religious, but it's not the case. It was included in the research plan Horizon Europe that a particular attention and a privileged funding should be devoted to 5 areas. These areas are, for instance, climate change, cities having better quality of life, quality of the soils, etc. And the 5th big mission was cancer, which is certainly something extremely important, because that will suppose a double mobilization of resources from one side, from the side of the public health, and from the new health plan that I will describe summary after, the Europe for Health, and as additional element, additional tool, it will be this mission research on cancer. It will be not only working alone. The European Commission has not the idea to work alone. We want to establish a close collaboration, certainly, with the World Health Organization, with the International Agency for Research on Cancer. The next one. And here you can see something that I think it's one of the, I will say, weak elements in all this perspective, which is the policy framework. Which is the policy framework, the rules, the laws, if you want to use a traditional word, that the Commission have to put in place this strategy on cancer. This is limited for the moment. We have the Council recommendation on cancer screening, which is from the year 2003, the Council conclusions to reduce the burden of cancer, the European Parliament resolution, and especially the new edition of the European Code Against Cancer. According to this legal framework, it has been, during the previous years, developed particularly with the cooperation of the Joint Research Center, which is a Directorate General of the European Commission, and for which, after Carmen will detail much more the initiatives that are being implemented. 3 very important initiatives. From one side, the European Cancer Information System, which I've led completely to Carmen to describe, the European Network of Cancer Registries, which is something that exists only, unfortunately, I will say, for cancer at the level of the European Union. We don't have a network of registries for diabetes. We don't have a network of registries for Alzheimer. And unfortunately, it's only in cancer that we have this so precious and important instrument, which is the European Network of Cancer Registries. And of course, we need to develop every one of these registries. We need to enlarge his capacities. We need to reinforce the value of the registries. And in the case of pancreatic cancer, this is extremely important. And this initiative today, I think it's very important. But the GRC has developed, according to this council recommendation, not only registries, but also guidelines. And this is the case of the European Commission Initiative on Breast Cancer, which develops the guidelines for the screening cancer, and something similar will be done for the case of the colorectal cancer. And I hope maybe one day also these European guidelines for pancreatic cancer that probably we need. At the same time, the health program has contributed to the creation of the European Reference Network of Cancer. You know that the European Reference Networks are a pool of 900 hospitals in Europe, developed in 24 European reference networks that are working. Two of these European reference networks, especially rare cancers, are one for the solid tumors and another much more concentrated in the pediatric tumors. And these European reference networks constitutes also a solid example of cooperation between member states and hospitals of the member states, because it's not the question to share the patients, but the most important thing is to share the knowledge. And this is what pretends to do the European reference networks. To reinforce all these actions, the European Commission has developed in these last years what we call joint actions. Joint actions, as the name indicates, is a 50% initiative by the European Commission and the member states. They have 4 that have been developed: the EPAC, European Partnership Action Against Cancer, the CANCON, Comprehensive Cancer Control, the JARC, Joint Action Rare Cancers, and IPAC, Innovative Partnership of Action Against Cancer, which is always in place. And in the next slide, you can see that one of the objectives in the IPAC joint action, particularly in the point 3, if you see, it's providing better efficacy for dealing with neglected cancers. And this concept of neglected cancer is especially devoted to the case of pancreatic cancer. Why neglected? Because unfortunately, pancreatic cancer cannot benefit in the most part of time of the European Code Against Cancer. These are cancers that needs a particular attention and that needs a particular action. And IPAC, the ongoing joint action in the field of cancer, is having a particular attention and a particular work in the case of pancreatic cancer. And finally, to conclude with the last slide, what has happened last week, it's something extremely important. For the first time, and I will say this is a positive consequence of the COVID, because during years and years we had a European health plan or program with a funding of 300 or 400 million euros for the whole period. You know that are periods of 6-7 years. This time we will have a health program in the European Union really meriting the name of health program, with an investment that finally it has been approved of 5.4 billion of euros, which is practically 20 times more as we had in the past. Why? Well, from one side, because it's true that the COVID crisis has created in the most part of member states a conscience about the need of cooperating at European level for doing something in the field of health, and because it's a little the tradition of the European Union to react to the crisis. If you know a little the history, the first time that the European Commission had a plan in the field of health, it was in the year 96. Why in the year 96? Because 96 is the year of the crisis of the mad cows. And at this moment, in 96, the European Union or the European Commission discovered that the cooperation in the field of health was absolutely necessary. Now, some years after, in 2020, again, the European Union, the member states, the European Parliament, everybody discovers that the cooperation in the field of health is absolutely necessary and can avoid crisis and loss of lives as we have experienced during this terrible crisis of the COVID. And that's the good news. How these funds, 5.4 billion, will be distributed, this is something that is under discussion, but the important thing is beyond some objectives, as you can see, reserves of medical supplies in cases of crisis, reserve of healthcare staff in cases of crisis, increased surveillance of health threats, you know very well because the reason for which these points are there. But there are other points that are extremely important. The disease prevention, to reinforce the disease prevention and the health promotion, to reinforce the digital transformation of the health systems, and the access to healthcare for vulnerable groups. It is sure that the good consequence of the EU for Health program, one of the main beneficiaries for sure will be the cancer plans. And I think that this combination of the things that I have explained, the Europe Beating Cancer Plan, the mission of research on cancer, and finally, this EU for Health permits maybe to be a little optimistic about the future of the health of the European Union action on health. Thank you, and that's my presentation.
Thank you very much, Antoni, for your presentations and for highlighting the news coming from the European level. And I would like now to give the floor to Carmen Martos. She will introduce us the perspective of researchers. And Carmen, she is a medical doctor and epidemiologist, and she has been working for more than 7 years at the European Commission's Joint Research Center in Ispra in Italy, in the Cancer Information Group. She's focusing on cancer data quality and data analysis. Previously, she worked on registration and epidemiology of rare disease in a public health research center in Valencia, in Spain, and on cancer registrations and epidemiology in the public health department of Aragon in Spain. Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you, Luisa. Do I share the screen or you do for me?
Lucia is doing this for you.
Thank you. First, I would like to give thanks to the organizer for inviting me to this very interesting event. I would like to give you the next one, please. I would like to give you an overview of the European Cancer Information System, ECIS. It was a European Commission initiative requested by the Council of the European Union, endorsed by the European Parliament, and coordinated by the European Commission's Joint Resource Center. The aim of ECIS is to provide comparable data on cancer burden as evidence for monitoring of policies to prevent and treat cancer, to be the base for epidemiological research and promotion of citizen empowerment. Next one, please. The base of the information included at the moment in the European Cancer Information System was provided by the European Population-Based Cancer Registry. For this reason, the GRC, in collaboration with the European Network of Cancer Registry, ENCR, launched in 2015 a data call for the European Population Cancer Registry. A total of 149 cancer registries from 34 European countries submitted the data, and now in the ECIS dataset, we have more than 34 million of records. Records means tumors. With this information, the GRC, also in collaboration with the ENCR, developed this ECIS web application to provide to the public some information about incidence and mortality estimate, some data also about the incidence and mortality for analysis of the trend of the time trends by country, by sex, by age, etc. And also you can find some information about survival. And this data has been provided by Eurocare Group. Something new is now included in the EquiWeb application is the fact sheet. We started for breast cancer, but we are going to continue to publish for the different cancer entity. Next one, please. Which information can we find in EQUIS about the pancreatic cancer? More than 94,000 of new cases are estimated in the European Union, and more than 89 deaths. You can see also the risk is higher, a little bit higher in males than in females. And also you can see that the incidence and mortality distribution among the European countries is not homogeneous. Next one, please. You can find some information about the time trends for different European areas. For example, just an example, we can see the time trends for incidence and for mortality for pancreatic cancer. And for example, we can see, for example, for Bulgaria, we have a time increase in the incidence and also mortality. For England also, and for the majority of the country, the difference are higher among mortality rates that for this country that for the incidence. And also you can see some information about the age standardized 5-year relative survival. For the in average for Europe is 6%. For some countries, this survival is higher, but no more than 11%. Next one, please. Which information are included in the EQUIS database? For each record, and record means tumor, we have information about the age and sex demographic information. We have a very good and detailed information related to for describing the tumor, the topography, the morphology, the day of diagnosis, behavior, grade, and base of diagnosis, and also we have information about the follow-up. In general, these 3 types of information are very good, has very good quality in the cancer registry, in the majority of the cancer registry. But for example, some registry are not collecting data related to the extent of disease and treatment. For example, related to pancreatic cancer, only 20% of the registry are collecting information about the stage. And this is increasing time to time, over the time. And now also about the treatment, the data collected by the cancer registry, usually is only about the first course of treatment. It's not collecting, they are not collecting information for metastasis and so on. And the proportion of cancer registry collecting this information is about 50%. Even if it's very basic, this information is surgery, yes or not, and so on. This is what we have now. And then we are planning to have the next call for data to update the information in the EQUIS web application and in the EQUIS database. And we are including and we are trying to improve the information collected by the cancer registry about treatment and also about the stage. And now we elaborate a protocol in order to harmonize the data collection and the data reporting. Next one, please. In summary, we can say that the European Cancer Information System is providing information about the cancer indicators, incidence, mortality, and survival at population level. And probably in the future, we are planning to have also to prevalence indicator. This because as I said, the cancer registry are collecting very detailed information about the tumor type. It's possible to identify the rare tumor from the European Cancer Registry. And for example, we found some cases for squamous cell carcinoma of the pancreas, serous cytocarcinoma, etc. And also we have another information that could be very interesting, and we are trying to harmonize and to analyze this information is the identification of patients with multiple primary tumors. For example, we found for pancreatic cancer that more than 7% of the patient has a second malignant tumor, independently of the pancreatic cancer. Usually, these tumors are before the pancreatic cancer. And now we are trying to identify the risk and which tumor are more frequent, etc. But the main limitation of this information system is the data availability delay and the gap in some clinical data. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Carmen, for these detailed presentations and bringing the point of view of the researchers. And then I would like now to give the floor to Alfredo Carrato, Professor Alfredo Carrato. He is a professor of medical oncology at Alcalá University and director of the medical oncology department at Ramón y Cajal University Hospital in Madrid, in Spain. And he is presently serving as director of the Ramón y Cajal Institute for Health Research, and he is member of PCE Board of Directors. Thank you, Alfredo.
Thanks very much, Luisa. I will start with my presentation telling that Ramón y Cajal was our first Nobel Prize in medicine in Spain in the early 1900s. He was the one who discovered the crosstalk among neurons in the brain. So we are very proud of having him in our history. I'm going to talk about the registries in pancreatic cancer. As you have recently heard from cancer, these registries have some rooms for improvement, and let me check. Okay, here it is. You see the presentation? Yes. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, as you see, it's a deadly cancer. Incidence and mortality rates are almost equal. And it's increasing in incidence, and colorectal and breast cancer even being more frequent, 5 or 6 times more frequent than pancreatic cancer. They will cause less deaths by cancer than pancreatic cancer by the year 2030, which is close to now, being the second most deadliest tumor after lung cancer. So this is a real problem, and we have to face it, and we cannot allowed that only 93% of the patients are sentenced to death because 7% of them are alive at 5 years. This is stupid in the 21st century. There are two types of pancreatic cancer: the neuroendocrine, which is curable and which is not as frequent as the pancreatic adenocarcinoma, ductal adenocarcinoma, which is the one I'm talking about now, and it's a very deadly disease. The next slide is showing you the kind of information that the population-based registries are providing. Carmen just told us that incidence, mortality, and survival are the main information given at the population-based registry, and maybe that prevalence will be added in the future. You see that surgery and radiation therapy, systemic therapy is just considered yes or no. We don't know what kind of surgery. We don't know many things that are important for the patients, for the doctors, and for the researchers to improve our pancreatic cancer's patients' health. A hospital registry could provide this information because we will get the familial and personal medical history, the habits, the signs and diseases that configure a high-risk population. And when we do have a high-risk population, we can design a screening program for early diagnosis, even when patients are asymptomatic. This is far away from the situation now. Time from symptoms to diagnosis. You may think this is not relevant, but this is relevant because it means that there is awareness, or there is not awareness of the society and the health system about this disease. There is a lot of months between the first symptom and the diagnosis in pancreatic ductal adenocarcinoma. We need accuracy of diagnosis. As you know, the pancreas contains enzymatic components, and you cannot perform a biopsy on the primary tumor because you can have a digestive enzyme discourage that causes a peritonitis, chemical peritonitis. So the only thing you can do is fine needle aspiration, which takes some cells within an abundant stroma. Stroma is so abundant in pancreatic cancer, it may rise 80% of the whole tumor. And the pathologist can only say if this is malignant or not. And sometimes we find that this is not really a pancreatic cancer later. So the molecular pathology for a personalized treatment is a must, and we have to work in that way. We need to put our patients in treatment centers that have enough experience of surgery, because the quality of surgery is related to the number of pancreatic cancer resections performed by year, and the morbidity of this tumor is around 40%, and it can decrease to 25% if it is performed in specialized hands. The clinical trials are offered to the patient as an opportunity because they might be the future treatment for pancreatic cancer patients. The chemotherapy type, the radiation type are not also described in the population-based registry, and we can have this information at the hospital registry. Reimbursement policies for treatment at each country and the availability of clinical trials in this country can give us an idea of how Europe is configured. And of course, supportive measures and quality of life should be part of the treatment, as well as the availability of biobanking for translational research. The remaining tissue should be used for understanding more in depth the biology and the different types of pancreatic cancer. That's the reason for some patients to survive 3 months and other ones to survive 3 years. The next slide says that the benefits of these hospital registries to constitute a solid database for obtaining this regular information on the burden and clinical management of pancreatic cancer on each European country, a reference platform for every professional involved in epidemiology, research, molecular, and management of pancreatic cancer to identify areas for improvement for the benefit of our patients. This will contain a large amount of information related to all aspects of the management of patients with pancreatic cancer, from awareness, prevention, initial symptoms, diagnosis, and through the treatment continuum. It will be a valuable tool to increase our knowledge on the biology and the behavior of these tumors, to identify high-risk subgroups and to tailor-made treatment. The next slide shows the difference of hospital-based and population-based registries. That's the reason for overlapping both, because we need both each other. The population-based registries, they collect all new cases of cancer occurring in a population, and they can therefore talk about incidence, prevalence, and population-based survival. That's not the case of the hospital-based registries, because you can get detailed data on diagnosis and treatment that is not contained in population-based registries, and but you do not have the incidence, prevalence, and survival that could be obtained in the population-based registries. But this survival is related to the attitude of the healthcare givers that take care of the patients in terms of clinical trials, or surgeons, or centralized centers with expertise, etc. The disadvantages of population-based registries is that they work with a 2-year back. They are not up to date. We are now talking about the year 2018. There's limited information collected routinely on diagnosis and treatment, so we need high-resolution studies. And the disadvantages of the hospital-based registries is that it's a case selection bias. Only the patients that go to the hospital are recorded. So we must collaborate with the population-based registry, as the next slide shows, and make a good partnership with all the information recorded at the hospital given to the population-based registries, PBCR, and integrate all the information to get the results and make more reasonable and understandable the results of the treatment and the information given related to survival. The next slide is talking about the amount of work that we have performed. We started in 5 years ago at the Pancreatic Cancer Workshop at the National Center for Cancer Research in Madrid with Nuria Malats. And we had a meeting at the European Parliament in Brussels in November 2015. So we decided to start with the kickoff meeting of PancreOS at the CNIO in Madrid with Nuria Malats. Here is the picture of all of the people that came, more than the representatives of 12 different groups from different countries. We also went to JRC in Ispra with Carmen, trying to get the umbrella of the European Network of Cancer Registries. They told us that it was convenient to collaborate with the population-based registries. That's what we are doing. And we had several meetings afterwards, and participants from UK, Germany, Romania, Italy, France, Turkey, Hungary, and Spain were very interested in this European Union Registry network collaborations. Clinicians, epidemiologists, biologists, pathologists, etc. configured this group. And the next slide is showing the hurdles, the obstacles. We need a consensus on the list of PancreOS variables among the participants. So this has to be easy to recover. We have to identify the PancreOS Scientific Legal Society to sign each group an agreement with. I mean, a society has to coordinate the different groups in Europe that are working on hospital-based registries. And we need a contract, so we need a legal number for this scientific society to sign, because each country should be responsible from their law content, and they should obtain also funds for the registry and the approval from the ethics committee if requested. And then we should share all the information in a common database, and we need some funds for maintenance and data management of this database, European database. The ENCR recognition and alignment with its methodology, it's also desirable. And then we could start with European Union PancreOS Registry. This is the Born of Venus, like the PancreOS Registry. And the next step would be to develop a biobank virtual network in which each country has their own biological samples, but everybody knows how many samples do we have in total from blood or from tissue or from saliva or from whatever. Next slide. And the last one is that we have cured pancreas in mouse. Last year, Mariano Barbacid already cured metastatic pancreatic cancer in the mouse, and this is not the case now in our patients because the mouse were genetically modified, and this is not the case for our patients. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Alfredo, for highlighting the pros and cons of such a registry. And we have now time, well, we are already 3 o'clock, but we would like to give you a few minutes to ask questions or clarifications. So if you have any questions, this is now the time. And we can proceed by using the options to raise your hand in the bottom, in the lower bar of Zoom under participants. You have the possibility to click on raise your hand. And so and Lucia, my colleague, she can unmute your microphone and let you speak.
Okay, Luisa, I would like, as I have been reading the chat that we do have, that the case that the patient showed was a neuroendocrine tumor, which is a different type of tumor from the pancreatic ductal adenocarcinoma, with different histology, different prognosis, and different treatment. So it's the same. It's the point of view of a patient that suddenly faces the cancer illness, and just to clarify that the prognosis is the opposite, one from each other.
Thank you.
Nuria, you can speak.
Yeah, hi everybody. I just want to thank all the speakers very much for your crucial messages in regarding this topic. From the patients that actually express the needs of information for them to be aware about their options, the options that they have. So thank you very much, Magdalena. To the political, very optimistic political scenario that Antoni, Montserrat, thank you, Antoni, you have drawn. Actually, to me, it's, I think that it's very clear that PancreOS has a room here and could actually be placed in all of these, in this scenario, from Europe beating cancer, a plan to the mission cancer. And I hope that actually the investment that EU for Health, it's a huge investment with 5.4 million euros, could this investment could also devote or be benefit the cancer initiatives. No, so hope this is also a reality. And also for what Carmen, and thank you, Carmen Martos, for your very clear and detailed presentation on how PancreOS, the registry, could complement actually the initiatives on information, on systems, on ECIs, that you mentioned and you expressed before. I think that this is very important, for PancreOS and for PCE to further support this initiative. And we hope actually that all the hurdles that Alfredo has commented in his last slide could be actually overcome, and we could go ahead, move ahead in implementing this tool. Thank you very much. This was just my comments.
Thank you, Nuria.
Thank you. There is a questions in the chat rising by ECPC. So it's a long questions, and maybe Lucia, can you give the floor to Haris Kirvalaki from ECPC so that she can ask the questions directly, please.
Hello from me too. I don't know if you hear me.
Yes.
Congratulations on this important event. So what I would like to raise here is that the importance, of course, of registries in Europe, and in connection with the fact that cancer patients are older in age now, and this many times excludes them not only from the screening but also from the trials. So I think that a common European policy on cancer registries will feed us with data that will be very useful. So the first question would be how important it is to have a common way and type of data collected in order to provide information to support the screening and the treatment of cancer. And of course, how such data collected from registries can help also the healthcare professionals and especially the doctors and reduce the discrepancies that we many times see around Europe on treatment and on screening and follow-up for the patients.
Yeah, I think that you're right, Caris, and that the aging population is becoming more prevalent in our countries. By the time I was a student, there was not allowed to get into the intensive care unit if you was 65 years old or older. And now this is past because geriatricians started at 70 years, after started at 75, at 80, and now geriatricians only attend patients after 85 years old because they have such a lot of patients. So we are moving, there is a dynamic reality, and we were not treating patients when they were 70 years old or something like that in the past, but now these patients are being treated, and they are not participating so often in clinical trials as they should. But the percentage of patients aged more than 70 in clinical trials is around 15%. So we cannot conclude from this percentage of patients important conclusions, but it's a fact that people get older with better performance status, with better functional status, and they should be included in the registries and also in the clinical trials.
Thank you very much, Alfredo. So I think it's a time to conclude the event. It's already 3:10. So I ask you, Alfredo, then to make a short conclusions, and yeah, then we can close the event.
Well, I want to thank you all, the excellent preparation of this event. I want to thank also the European Parliament for hosting us, and I would like to wish our MEP, Mrs. Kopcińska, the best in her challenge with health now. She's with fatigue, fever, so the COVID is going around, and she has been taking the tests today. So we wish the best for her and hope that everything resolves soon. Thanks very much for the interesting presentations to all the presenters, and thanks for the audience for being interested in this need, this health emergency need that is pancreatic cancer. It's a hard bone to roll, but together we will succeed. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much to everybody for participating in this event. As a last piece of information, we will publish the documentations shared during this hour on our website. So you will receive notifications when the documentations will be available, so that the cooperations among us can continue. So thank you again, and stay safe, and good afternoon to everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.